Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Shannon. Please hit the like button, the subscribe button, and leave a comment below today. Today we're going to start off with a prayer. It is in Ephesians 6. It is called the Armor of God. The Armor of God. And you also can look it up on any search engine, folks. The Armor of God. I put on and stand firm with the belt of truth buckled around my waist. I am safe and secure with the breastplate of righteousness, guarding my heart from evil, helping me live a life that honors you. I diligently put on the gospel shoes of peace, willing to go wherever you ask of me. I take and stand behind the shield of faith, protected against Satan's fiery darts of doubt, fear, lies, and deceit. Now on my head I place the helmet of salvation, keeping my mind on you. I grab hold in my hand of the sword of the Spirit, the word of Yahweh, sharp and true. I'm prepared to live today in spiritual victory in Yeshua's name. Amen, folks. Amen. Today we're going to be in Leviticus chapters 21 through 25, folks. And on Sunday, we're doing Women of the Bible, so come join us at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. That is 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and we will be doing Women of the Bible. Chapter 21 of Leviticus. The Lord said to Moses, "Speak to Aaron's sons, the priests, and tell them, none of you shall make himself unclean for any dead person among his people, except for his nearest relative, his mother or father, his son or daughter, his brother or his maiden sister who is of his own family, while she remains unmarried. For these he may make himself unclean, but for a sister who has married out of his family, he shall not make himself unclean. This would be a profanen. The priest shall not make bare the crown of the head, nor shave the edges of the beard, nor lacerate the body. To their God they shall be sacred, and not to profane his name. Since they offer up obligations of the Lord, the food of their God, they must be holy. A priest shall not marry a woman who has been a prostitute or has lost her honor, nor a woman who has been divorced by her husband, for the priest is sacred to his God. Honor him as sacred who offers up the food of your God. Treat him as sacred, because I, the Lord, who have consecrated him, am sacred. A priest's daughter who loses her honor by committing fornication and thereby dishonors her father also shall be burned to death. The most exalted of the priests, upon whose head the anointing oil has been poured, and who has been ordained to wear the special vestments, shall not bare his head or rend his garment, nor shall he go near any dead people. Not even for his father or mother may he thus become unclean, or leave the sanctuary, otherwise he will profane the sanctuary of his God. For with the anointing oil upon him, he is dedicated to his God, to me the Lord. The priest shall marry a virgin, not a widow or a woman who has been divorced, or a woman who has lost her honor as a prostitute, but a virgin taken from his own people shall he marry. Otherwise he will have base offspring among his people. I, the Lord, have made him sacred." The Lord said to Moses, "Speak to Aaron and tell him, none of your descendants, of whatever generation, who has any defect shall come forward to offer up the food of his God. Therefore, he who has any of the following defects may not come forward: he who is blind or lame, or who has any disfigurement or malformation, or a crippled foot or hand, or who is humpbacked, or weakly, or wall-eyed, or who is afflicted with eczema, ringworm, or hernias. No descendant of Aaron, the priest, who has any such defect, may draw near to offer up the obligations of the Lord. On account of his defect, he may not draw near to offer up the food of his God. He may, however, partake of the food of his God, of what is most sacred, as well as of what is sacred. Only he may not approach the veil, nor go up to the altar on account of his defect. He shall not profane these things that are the sacred to me, for it is I, the Lord, who make them sacred." Moses therefore told this to Aaron and his sons and to all the Israelites. Chapter 22. The Lord said to Moses, "Tell Aaron and his sons to respect the sacred offerings which the Israelites consecrate to me, else they will profane my holy name. I am the Lord. Tell them, if any one of you or of your descendants in any future generation dares, while he is in a state of uncleanliness, to draw near the sacred offerings which the Israelites consecrate to the Lord, such a one shall be cut off from my presence. I am the Lord. No descendant of Aaron who is stricken with leprosy or who suffers from a flow may eat of these sacred offerings, unless he again becomes clean. Moreover, if anyone touches a person who has become unclean by contact with a corpse, or if anyone has had an emission of seed, or if anyone touches any swarming creature, or any man whose uncleanliness of whatever kind it may be is contagious, the one who touches such as these shall be unclean until evening, and may not eat of the sacred portions until he has first bathed his body in water. Then, when the sun sets, he again becomes clean. Only then may he eat of the sacred offerings, which are his food. He shall not make himself unclean by eating of any animal that has died of itself, or has been killed by wild beasts. I am the Lord." Sorry, guys. "They shall keep my charge and not do wrong in this matter, else they will die for their profaning. I am the Lord who have consecrated them. Neither a lay person nor a priest, tenant, or hired servant may eat of any sacred offering, but a slave whom a priest acquires by purchase, or who is born in his house, may eat of his food. A priest's daughter who is married to a layman may not eat of the sacred contributions. But if a priest's daughter is widowed or divorced, and having no children, returns to her father's house, she may eat of her father's food as in her youth. No layman, however, may eat of it. If such a one eats of a sacred offering, though inadvertence, he shall make restitution to the priest for the sacred offering, with an increment of 1/5 of the amount, the sacred offerings which the Israelites contribute to the Lord. The priest shall not allow to be profaned, nor in the eating of the sacred offering shall they bring down guilt that must be punished. It is I, the Lord, who make them sacred." Then the Lord said to Moses, "Speak to Aaron and his sons and to all the Israelites, and tell them, when any one of the house of Israel, or any alien residing in Israel who wishes to offer a sacrifice, brings a holocaust as a votive offering or as a free will offering to the Lord." Sorry, guys. "If it is to be acceptable, the ox or sheep or goat that he offers must be an unblemished male. You shall not offer one that has any defect, for such a one would not be acceptable for you. When anyone presents a peace offering to the Lord from the herd or from the flock in fulfillment of a vow, or as a free will offering, if it is to find acceptance, it must be unblemished. It shall not have any defect. One that is blind or crippled or maimed, or one that is has a running sore, or mange, or ringworm, you shall not offer to the Lord." Sorry, guys. "Do not put such an animal on the altar as an obligation to the Lord. Ox or a sheep that is in any way ill proportioned or stunted you may indeed present as a free will offering, but it will not be acceptable as a votive offering. One that has its testicles bruised or crushed or torn out or cut off you shall not offer to the Lord. You shall neither do this in your own land, nor receive from a foreigner any such animals to offer up as the food of your God, since they are deformed or defective. They will not be acceptable for you." The Lord said to Moses, "When an ox or a lamb or a goat is born, it shall remain with its mother for 7 days. Only from the 8th day onward will it be acceptable to be offered as an obligation to the Lord. You shall not slaughter an ox or a sheep or one in the same day with its young. Whenever you offer a thanksgiving sacrifice to the Lord, so offer it that it may be acceptable for you. It must therefore be eaten on the same day. None of it shall be left over until the next day. I am the Lord. Be careful to observe the commandments which I, the Lord, gave you, and do not profane my holy name in the midst of the Israelites. the Lord, must be held as sacred. It is I who made you sacred and led you out of the land of Egypt, that I, the Lord, might be your God. Chapter 23. The Lord said to Moses, Speak to the Israelites and tell them, The following are the festivals of the Lord, my feast days, which you shall celebrate with sacred assembly. For 6 days work may be done, but the seventh day is a Sabbath rest, a day for sacred assembly, on which you shall do no work. The Sabbath shall belong to the Lord, wherever you dwell. These then are the festivals of the Lord, which you shall celebrate at their proper time with a sacred assembly. The Passover of the Lord falls on the 14th day of the first month, at the evening twilight. The 15th day of this month is the Lord's feast of unleavened bread. For 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread. On the first of these days you shall hold a sacred assembly, and do no sort of work. On each of the 7 days you shall offer an obligation to the Lord. Then on the 7th day you shall again hold a sacred assembly, and do no such sort of work. The Lord said to Moses, Speak to the Israelites and tell them, When you come into the land which I am giving you, and reap your harvest, you shall bring a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest to the priest, who shall wave the sheaf before the Lord, that it may be acceptable for you. On the day after the Sabbath, the priest shall do this. On this day, when your sheaf is waved, you shall offer to the Lord for your holocaust an unblemished yearling lamb. Its cereal offering shall be 2/10 of an ephah of fine flour mixed with oil, as a sweet-smelling obligation to the Lord. And its libation shall be 1/4 of a hin of wine. Until this day, when you bring your God this offering, you shall not eat any bread, or roasted grain, or fresh kernels. This shall be a perpetual state for you and your descendants wherever you dwell. Beginning with the day after the Sabbath, the day on which you bring the wave offering sheaf, you shall count 7 full weeks. And then on the day after the 7th week, the 50th day, you shall present the new cereal offering to the Lord. For the wave offering of your first fruits to the Lord, you shall bring with you from wherever you live 2 loaves of bread made of 2/10 of an ephah of fine flour and baked with leaven. Besides the bread, you shall offer to the Lord a holocaust of 7 unblemished yearling lambs, 1 young bull, and 2 rams, along with their cereal offerings and libations, as a sweet-smelling obligation to the Lord. 1 male goat shall be sacrificed as a sin offering, and 2 yearling lambs as a peace offering. The priest shall wave the bread of the first fruits and the 2 lambs as a wave offering before the Lord. These shall be sacred to the Lord and belong to the priest. On this same day you shall by proclamation have a sacred assembly, and no sort of work may be done. This shall be a perpetual salute for you and your descendants wherever you dwell. When you reap the harvest of your land, you shall not be so thorough that you reap the field to its very edge, nor shall you glean the straight ears of your grain. These things you shall leave for the poor and the aliens. I, the Lord, am your God. The Lord said to Moses, Tell the Israelites, on the first day of the 7th month you shall keep a Sabbath rest, with a sacred assembly and with the trumpet blast as a reminder. You shall then do no sort of work, and you shall offer an obligation to the Lord. Sorry, guys. The Lord said to Moses, The 10th of this 7th month is the Day of Atonement, when you shall hold a sacred assembly and mortify yourselves and offer an obligation to the Lord. On this day you shall not do any work, because it is the Day of Atonement. When atonement is made for you before the Lord your God, anyone who does not mortify himself on this day shall be cut off from his people. And if anyone does any work on this day, I will remove him from the midst of his people. This is a perpetual state for you and your descendants wherever you dwell. You shall do no work, but shall keep a Sabbath of complete rest and mortify yourselves. Beginning on the evening of the 9th of the month, you shall keep this Sabbath of yours from evening to evening. The Lord said to Moses, "Tell the Israelites, the 15th day of this 7th month is the Lord's feast of booths, which shall continue for 7 days. On the first day there shall be a sacred assembly, and you shall do no sort of work. For 7 days you shall offer an obligation to the Lord, and on the 8th day you shall again hold a sacred assembly and offer an obligation to the Lord. On that solemn closing you shall do no sort of work. These therefore are the festivals of the Lord, on which you shall proclaim a sacred assembly, and offer as an obligation to the Lord holocausts and cereal offerings, sacrifices and libations, as prescribed for each day. In addition to those of the Lord's Sabbaths, your donations, your various votive offerings, and the free will offerings that you present to the Lord. On the 15th day, then, of the 7th month, when you have gathered in the produce of the land, you shall celebrate a pilgrim feast of the Lord for a whole week. The 1st and the 8th day shall be the days of complete rest. On the 1st day you shall gather foliage from the majestic tree branches of palms and boughs of myrtles and of valley poplars. And then for a week you shall make merry before the Lord your God. By perpetual statute for you and your descendants you shall keep this pilgrim feast of the Lord for 1 whole week in the 7th month of the year. During this week every native Israelite among you shall dwell in booths, that your descendants may realize that when I led the Israelites out of the land of Egypt, I made them dwell in booths. I, the Lord, am your God. Thus did Moses announce to the Israelites the festivals of the Lord. Okay, 2 more chapters, guys. Chapter 24. The Lord said to Moses, "Order the Israelites to bring you clear oil of crushed olives for the light, so that you may keep lamps burning regularly. In the meeting tent, outside the veil that hangs in the front of the commandments, Aaron shall set up the lamps to burn before the Lord regularly, from evening till morning. Thus, by a perpetual statute for you and your descendants, the lamps shall be set up on the pure gold lampstand, to burn regularly before the Lord. You shall take fine flour and bake it into 12 cakes, using 2/10 of an ephah of flour for each cake. These you shall place in 2 piles, 6 in each pile, on the pure gold table before the Lord. On each pile put some pure frankincense, which shall serve as an obligation to the Lord, a token offering for the bread. Regularly on each Sabbath day this bread shall be set out afresh before the Lord, offered on the part of the Israelites by an everlasting agreement. It shall belong to Aaron and his sons, who must eat it in a sacred place, since as something most sacred among the various obligations to the Lord, it is his by perpetual right." Among the Israelites there was a man born of an Israelite mother, Smith, daughter of Debri, of the tribe of Dan, and an Egyptian father. This man quarreled publicly with another Israelite and cursed and blasphemed the Lord's name. So the people brought him to Moses, who kept him in custody until a decision from the Lord should settle the case for them. The Lord then said to Moses, "Take the blasphemer outside the camp, and when all who heard him have laid their hands on his head, let the whole community stone him. Tell the Israelites, anyone who curses his God shall bear the penalty of his sins. Whoever blasphemes the name of the Lord shall be put to death. The whole community shall stone him. Alien and native alike must be put to death for blaspheming the Lord's name. Whoever takes the life of any human being shall be put to death. Whoever takes the life of an animal shall make restitution of another animal. A life for a life. Anyone who inflicts an injury on his neighbor shall receive the same in return. Limb for limb, eye for eye, tooth for tooth. The same injury that a man gives another shall be inflicted on him in return. Whoever slays an animal shall make a restitution, but whoever slays a man shall be put to death. You shall have but one rule for alien and native alike. I, the Lord, am your God." When Moses told this to the Israelites, they took the blasphemer outside the camp and stoned him. They carried out the command that the Lord had given Moses. Last chapter, guys. Chapter 25. The Lord said to Moses on Mount Sinai, "Speak to the Israelites and tell them, When you enter the land that I am giving you, let the land too keep a Sabbath for the Lord. For 6 years you may sow your field, and for 6 years prune your vineyard, gathering in their produce. But during the 7th year the land shall have a complete rest, a Sabbath for the Lord, when you may neither sow your field nor prune your vineyard. The aftergrowth of your harvest you shall not reap, nor shall you pick the grapes of your untrimmed vines in this year of the Sabbath rest for the land. While the land has its Sabbath, all the produce will be food equally for you yourself and for your male and female slaves, for your hired help and the tenants who live with you, and likewise for your livestock and for the wild animals on your land. The Jubilee year, folks. The 7 weeks of years shall you count, 7 times 7 years, so that the 7 cycles amount to 49 years. Then on the 10th day of the 7th month, let the trumpet resound. On this day, the Day of Atonement, the trumpet blast shall re-echo throughout your land. This 50th year you shall make sacred by proclaiming liberty in the land for all its inhabitants. It shall be a jubilee for you, when every one of you shall return to his own property, every one to his own family estate. In this 50th year, your year of jubilee, you shall not sow, nor shall you reap the aftergrowth, or pick the grapes from the untrimmed vines. Since this is the jubilee which shall be sacred for you, you may not eat of its produce, except as taken directly from the field. In this year of jubilee, then every one of you shall return to his own property. Therefore, when you sell any land to your neighbor, or buy any from him, do not deal unfairly. On the basis of the number of years since the last jubilee shall you purchase the land from him, and also on the basis of the number of years for crops shall he sell it to you. When the years are many, the price shall be so much the more. When the years are few, the price shall be so much the less. For it is really the number of crops that he sells you. Do not deal unfairly then, but stand in fear of your God. I, the Lord, am your God. Observe my precepts and be careful to keep my regulations, for then you will dwell securely in the land. The land will yield its fruit, and you will have food in abundance, so that you may live there without worry. Therefore do not say, what shall we eat in the 7th year, if we do not then sow or reap our crop? I will bestow such blessings on you in the 6th year, that there will then be crop enough for 3 years. When you sow in the 8th year, you will continue to eat from the old crop, and even unto the 9th year. When the crop comes in, you will still have the old to eat from. The land shall not be sold in perpetuity, for the land is mine, and you are but aliens who have become my tenants. Therefore, in every part of the country that you occupy, you must permit the land to be redeemed. When one of your countrymen is reduced to poverty and has to sell some of his property, his closest relative, who has the right to redeem it, may go and buy it back what his kinsman has sold. If, however, the man has no relative to redeem his land, but later on acquires sufficient means to buy it back in his own name, he shall make a deduction from the price in proportion to the number of years since the sale, and then pay back the balance to the one whom he sold it, so that he may thus regain his own property. But if he does not acquire sufficient means to buy back his land, what he has sold shall remain in the possession of the purchaser until the Jubilee, when it must be released and returned to its original owner. When someone sells a dwelling in a walled town, he has the right to buy it back during the time of 1 full year from its sale. But if such a house in a walled town has not been redeemed at the end of a full year, it shall belong in perpetuity to the purchaser and his descendants, nor shall it be released in the Jubilee. However, houses in villages that are not encircled by walls shall be considered as belonging to the surrounding farmland. They may be redeemed at any time, and in the Jubilee they must be released. In Levitical cities, the Levites shall always have the right to redeem the town houses that are their property. Any town Any townhouse of the Levites in their cities that have been sold and not redeemed shall be released into the Jubilee, for the townhouses of the Levites are their hereditary property in the midst of the Israelites. Moreover, the pasture and land belonging to their cities shall not be sold at all. It must always remain their hereditary property. When one of your fellow countrymen is reduced to poverty and is unable to hold out beside you, extend to him the privilege of an alien or a tenant, so that he may continue to live with you. Do not exact interest from your countrymen, either in money or in kind, but out of fear of God let him live with you. You are to lend him neither money at interest nor food at a profit. I, the Lord, am your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, to give you the land of Canaan, and to be your God. When then your countryman becomes so impoverished beside you that he sells you his services, do not make him work as a slave. Rather, let him be like a hired servant or like your tenant, working with you until the Jubilee year, when he, together with his children, shall be released from your services and return to his kindred and to the property of his ancestors. Since those whom I brought out of the land of Egypt are servants of mine, they shall not be sold as slaves to any man. Do not lord it over them harshly, but stand in fear of your God. Slaves male and female you may indeed possess, provided you buy them from among the neighboring nations. You may also buy them from among the aliens who reside with you, and from their children who are born and reared in your land. Such slaves you may own as chattels and leave to your sons as hereditary property, making them perpetual slaves. But you shall not lord it harshly over any of the Israelites, your kinsmen. When one of your countrymen is reduced to such poverty that he sells himself to a wealthy alien who has a permanent or a temporary residence among you, or to one of the descendants of an immigrant family, even after he has thus sold his services, he still has the right of redemption. He may be redeemed by one of his brothers, or by his uncle or cousin, or by some other relative or fellow clansman, or if he acquires the means, he may redeem himself. With his purchaser he shall compute the years from the sale to the Jubilee, distributing the sale price over these years as though he had been hired as a day laborer. The more such years there are, the more of the sale price he shall pay back as ransom. The fewer years there are left before the Jubilee year, the more he has to his credit. In proportion to his years of service shall he pay his ransom. The alien shall treat him as a servant hired on an annual basis, and he shall not lord it over him harshly under your very eyes. If he is not thus redeemed, he shall nevertheless be released, together with his children, in the Jubilee year. For me the Israelites belong as servants. They are servants of mine, because I brought them out of the land of Egypt, I the Lord your God. And that is it for the day, guys. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment below today. And don't forget, tomorrow night I'm reading Women of the Bible at 7 p.m. Thank you. Have a blessed day.